Hello, and welcome to Navigating to Success. I'm Jeff Carlton, certified focal point business and executive coach. And today's business journey explored is with Korena Keys, founder and CEO of Key Media Solutions in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So it's the South Dakota series. I think you're my fourth person out of South Dakota here in the last 2 weeks. So
Interesting.
welcome, Korena.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So you have an interesting story. It looks like by reading through your LinkedIn profile of how you got here and founded your own company. Tell us about Key Media and what you do.
Yeah, so Key Media Solutions is a digital media firm. We really work with internal marketing teams and full service agencies to better integrate some of the world-class technology that's out there that is often unattainable for small and mid-sized businesses. So we bring access to programmatic technology and then just really deep expertise in that to really across the board better integrate digital strategies, get better results, and allow them to be more competitive in the arena that integrates better with what they're doing in more offline or traditional aspects.
So, well, first off, how many employees do you have?
Yeah, we're currently at 8.
Okay, so
Yep.
it's a fairly lean operation,
Mhm.
but that's good. We'll come back to some of the tech. What where do you primarily, what platforms I mean, are you doing media for traditional television, um, or is it online media and social media platforms?
Yep. And we are pretty lean, but we only focus on the digital aspect of things. So programmatic strategy, ad buying through Trade Desk. We've got obviously all the search we do, paid search, so organic search, social media marketing, and consulting on email marketing.
Okay. So do you set up, do you use strategies like geo targeting and things like that? Okay.
Yep, we can do geofencing, connected TV, streaming radio is all can be done through one platform. And really, the goal that we're trying to do is create an omnichannel experience by connecting what's happening in the display side and the programmatic side with what's happening through social media and what's happening through search, and then tracking offline activities to bring everything together to really follow an individual's journey throughout the entire process from the first engagement all the way through to conversion.
Very cool. What is your what does your client base look like? Who are your clients?
Yeah, and that's a great question. About 60% of the work that we do comes through full service agency partnerships. So we work with small and mid-sized ad agencies that need to extend into this area of expertise where they have problems either hiring the people that have the level of expertise that we have or can't access some of the platforms that we have access to. And so we integrate as just really as a part of their team and help them develop strategy and then we write the plans for the digital side and then do all the execution and analysis and reporting on those digital media plans. And then for
So,
direct clients, we work in manufacturing and financial services.
so are you working uh, geographically? Are you working nationally through the United
Yes.
States, internationally?
Yep.
Okay, so it's not so much about location and serving a geographical market. It's the service you provide is unique.
Correct.
Okay. Um, so so you're working nationally. What is your idea? So partnering, so you're more of a primarily a B2B. You're helping other advertising agencies as opposed to that's the majority.
Yeah, I would say that's about 60% of what we do.
And the rest is directly with a client that comes to you and says, "Hey, I need to sell my widgets and I want to
Mhm.
sell it here to this group of people." Okay,
Yep.
very cool.
And that can be
Um,
through e-commerce or lately it's been a lot of employee recruitment, helping especially manufacturers, call centers, larger employers just really recruit employees because that game is changing rapidly.
Yeah, clients businesses are, and we have this problem in this region,
Hmm.
Montana, Dakotas, Wyoming. We have more job openings than we have people available to
Yes,
fill them. And when we do have applicants, they're often not qualified.
correct. That is a big problem.
Yeah. Um, so, so tell me about, you started the business, you founded the business 13 years ago. Let's talk about some of the stumbles and struggles you've had that other people might be experiencing now on their journeys. What would you say was one of your biggest surprises when you said, well, I'm going to go make a lot of money and work less hours?
Well, I don't know that I ever started out with that belief. I actually had been working in full service agency for 15 years and I left the agency for a better quality of life for my family and my kids. Had gone to work for a marketing company out of Minneapolis and then found out about 5 months into that they were taking a hiatus and pausing all business activity for a while. So I was actually unemployed and desperately needing to find a job where I could still support my family and making sure I was making ends meet. And the more that I thought about it, the more that I prayed about it. I'm like, I can step into this. The agencies are not moving into digital fast enough, and they weren't really willing to experiment and try to train their people on it because they weren't sure if it was a fad or if it was a real thing and where do you start. So I just started talking to different ad agencies about, what their needs were and how I could provide some of my expertise to help them be more competitive or allow their clients to be more competitive by jumping into this digital space. So I don't think I ever went into it thinking I was going to work less hours just because that's not my philosophy on life to begin with. I'm pretty ambitious and a go-getter, and I'm not afraid to do some of the hard work. But I think for me, early on, some of the biggest surprises that I had and some of the biggest challenges was really more about running the business than owning my expertise in the area that I was in. I learned pretty quickly that I needed a bookkeeper, and if it was up to me to do all of the billing and the collections and the balancing of the checkbook, I would not be in business for very long. And so
Yeah,
I very early on hired somebody to do that role.
I think that you bring up a really good point that um, as a business owner, you have to get some of those technical skills off your plate and get them put away as fast as possible to somebody that is probably potentially even better at it than you are.
Yes,
Like Elon Musk says, hire people that are smarter than you.
absolutely, every day. And and it's funny because when we talk to our clients and when we're pitching business, we tell them, like, yeah, you can hire your college kid to do your social media for you. And they probably can check some boxes and show you some wins. But when you hire an expert to do that for you, the returns are exponential. The time investment is less. The cost can actually be less because it's done more efficiently, more accurately, and you get better return on investment. So why would you hire a college kid to do your social media versus an expert? It's the same thing, my belief, I guess, when it came to hiring somebody that knew how to do all the financials. I could muddle my way through it, and it would take me 5 days every month just to do that part of it, or I could hire somebody for 5 hours and apply my extra time to what I'm really good at.
I've had that exact conversation with clients several times.
Mhm.
Um,
I think we all have, haven't we?
yeah, your 5 days that you're going to spend doing it. I think about myself trying to even get my taxes ready to take to an accountant. Um, I think
Yeah.
everybody has experience. Let's go back and talk about technology because you said something that really caught my ear. That the big agencies weren't moving into digital tech fast enough.
Yes.
And so you've got this small 8-person business how do you set yourself apart and explain to these bigger agencies what your small business does that they can't?
Yeah, and I do think that we were able to get into the trade desk early on and um, be able to be one of the early agencies that were using that programmatic platform. And so we still have a direct access and seat into that really advanced piece of technology that is heavily used by enterprise level companies at this point. But we have 10 years of experience in it, and we know how to do the platform. We have dedicated help and support. When there's a challenge, in fact, we got this week, we got a challenge that it's like, oh, I don't think I've been stumped in this for a really long time. We have to figure out what we can do in this arena. Um, so I think one of the true areas that we can bring is that we have the direct access to the technology. We have been using it for a really long time and we know how to make it sing. We know how to make it work. But more important that we know how to connect all the dots across everything else and be able to analyze the overall campaign performance and results and provide actionable outcomes and not just vanity metrics.
I love that actionable outcomes, not vanity metrics. I love that term, vanity metrics. A lot of times you walk in and you're like, look at this really cool dashboard that we built. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that piece of data right there? What decision are you going
Yeah,
to
what
make?
does it mean?
Right. No, that's fantastic. Vanity metric. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
How has AI affected in the last, I'll be generous and call it 2 years, although we've been using it longer than that. We just didn't call it AI.
Yeah.
How has that affected you?
It definitely brings some challenges and it forces us to continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to test for sure. We've been testing it as far as the ad platform side and optimization and ad targeting for quite a while. But I would say in the last 18 months to 24 months, we've really used it to analyze internally how can we be more efficient with our processes? How can we be more efficient with our tasking? How can we get all of our systems to better work together and to analyze the data so that we get deeper insights and more real-time analysis of what's happening? And so
Very cool.
we as an agency about 2 years ago really leaned into AI and not just in the advertising and creative and copywriting aspect, but really finding operational efficiencies. I think I shared at the beginning, we're at about 8 people now. The company has been as large as 18 people in the past.
Well,
And we have, over the last couple of years, been able to, as people have left, not replace them with other people, but with streamlining and with efficiencies and with processes. Our finance and operations team, we had 2 full-time people doing finance and HR. And we've got that down to about a 20-hour per month consultant that's managing that because we've been able to find so much efficiencies in automating a lot of our billing and our processes that we don't need those people anymore.
well, and you found a solution to a overstretched labor market by doing so. You had to do that.
Yeah.
You we were really treading water since coming out of the pandemic, honestly. Um, so what does key media look like in 12 or 36 months? What's your strategic plan right now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We've definitely, like most companies, we have financial goals that we want to achieve. We have certain client markets that we want to expand and grow in, and a vision for what we want those clients to look like. I think the last 3 years, for us and for most people in our industry, have been really rocky. And there's been a lot of not just change in technology, but the whole pandemic and the way people work and how they work and what that looks like. I think for us, we're kind of evolving what that 36-month picture looks like for us. And, we know that it's going to continue to involve remote teams. While we prefer to be in person because we think the collaboration and the outcomes and the conversations are better, um, we know that we're continuing to perfect what that remote office and remote team looks like. There's growth that's going to happen. I think exactly, what exactly that looks like, I'm not sure, outside of where we know we want to be revenue wise, target wise, and profitability wise.
Interesting. It has been rocky, and you pulled a bunch of threads that we don't really have time to go into, but understanding how people nationally or globally even are working today,
Mhm.
they're still figuring it out too. I
Yeah.
think all ours, what is the landscape is some companies are starting to bring employees back for the collaboration aspect. And another one I brought up was the coworker accountability. Sometimes it's not about the backs, it's about the coworkers holding each other accountability for their
Yeah.
responsibilities. And that gets lost over Zoom sometimes because they're wearing fuzzy jammy pants under the desk. So as opposed to coming to work to be a professional that day.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, on that, with your growth plan, you said you were looking to maybe hire one person in the near future.
Yes. Yes. Yep. We're looking to bring somebody in that digital specialist or maybe a senior digital specialist role that is able to not just work within the platforms and do ad campaign setups and optimizations, but dig more into the data side of things and really look at drawing out those actionable insights and developing strategy.
Very cool. All right. We'll wrap it up with this. Any lessons learned or solid tip that you've gleaned over the last 14 to 20 years on starting a business or keeping a struggling business afloat?
Um, you know, I think for me, the biggest thing is adding some humility to it and knowing that there are things that I am very knowledgeable on and that I am really good at, and there's a lot of things that I'm not. And I need to ask for help in those areas. And then I need to be able to listen to those, whether it's advisors or teammates or employees or whoever it is that I'm hiring with that expertise and that knowledge, and being able to pull myself back and say, yeah, I trust you in this because you know more about this area than I do. And so it's really having that network of people, not being the smartest person in the room, acknowledging you're not the smartest person in the room, and then listening to and acting on the advice that you actually get.
That's fantastic. There's so much we could do another hour just talking about that subject and the
Mhm.
principles that you just brought up. So much
Yeah.
appreciated. I love using the word humility in there because saying I don't know or I need help is absolutely critical to be a successful business
And I
owner.
think that's hard for CEOs to do because people look at us like we should always have the answers. And and I
Yeah,
don't.
and the reality is no, I got a guy, I got a girl, I
Hmm.
got a person
Yeah.
that knows that. So fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Karina, for taking time. I know you're extremely busy. Any parting shots before we wrap it up for the day?
Well, if I can do a little plug, I've spent the last 3 years, because things weren't crazy enough, writing a book about just kind of my journey and my experience. I ended up being a statistic in high school and being a teen mom and living on welfare essentially to support myself and my family. And it's just my journey from going through living in welfare to putting myself through college, starting my career, and then eventually starting a business and growing a multi-million-dollar company to where I'm now supporting other families. And the book launched just April 2nd, so just a couple of weeks ago. And just, yeah, it's called Welfare to CEO, a single mom's journey in entrepreneurship. And I think it talks a lot about, there's a lot of transparency in getting through some of those tough times and digging deep and finding the resiliency to move on.
Admirable. Fantastic. Well, folks, check out that book. Check out Key Media. If you need some help. And thanks everybody for joining us today. Thank you again, Karina. And
Yeah, I
we'll see
appreciate your
everybody
time.
next. Yeah. on navigating to success.